butterfly?
Yeah, it's a butterfly.
You're so classy.
I know.
I got dollar signs like a real hoe.
And now, at long last, Anora, the Palme d'Or winner at this year's Cannes Film Festival. And in a year where there aren't many obvious Best Picture frontrunners, here we have a legitimate contender that has kept its momentum running throughout its limited release. To put it bluntly, it's every bit as good as you've heard. The tagline you'll likely be hearing regarding the film is that it's Pretty Woman by the way of the Safdie brothers. And while I think that's a fair comparison, director Sean Baker is digging into much deeper themes, and it trades in the happy ending you'd get from a Julia Roberts rom-com for an emotionally shattering final scene. The story sees Mikey Madison as Annie, a New York stripper who may have found her way out of the sex work business when she meets Mark Edelstein's Vanya Zakharov, the son of a Russian oligarch. After spending a week together with her working as his escort, Vanya suddenly proposes and the two get married in Las Vegas. Hey, only in America, right? But once Vanya's parents hear the news, they send handlers to collect the pair and get the wedding annulled. And Annie slowly gets hit with the harsh reality that she may have backed the wrong horse in trying to find her happily ever after. Now, there are plenty of films out there that try to present themselves like a drug trip or a night of heavy drinking. And while many of those tend to recapture that experience through visuals, Anora does so through its framing. The first hour feels like a euphoric whirlwind of lust, drinking, drugs, dancing, traveling, and debauchery. Any sense of consequence is thrown out the window. These kids are in their early 20s, and one of them is the son of a billionaire. What worries could they possibly have? But, as anyone who's ever had a wild night of bar hopping will tell you, that euphoria evaporates and a slow emotional deflation sets in until all you're left with are the consequences of your actions. For most of us, those come in the simple form of a hangover, but sometimes life-altering decisions are made while you're still riding that high, and the realization doesn't set in until you've come back down. Now, for as heavy as the movie gets, it's also shockingly funny. Once Vanya's three handlers arrive and he runs off, Annie is forced to deal with what would normally be a pretty scary situation. The thing is, those three handlers are idiots, so their attempts to calm down and restrain Annie and search New York to retrieve Vanya result in long sequences of arguing, shouting, and pratfalls. What easily could have been an incredibly tense standoff is played off like the Three Stooges tried to take somebody hostage. It's a fascinating tonal balance very few films manage to pull off. Now, if you're familiar with Baker's previous work, you know he's incredibly sympathetic to the marginalized and downtrodden communities here in the United States, and that's once again on full display here. Anora's roller coaster ride of happiness, humor, and heartbreak is stitched together by the underlying thread of control wealth has over these groups. Having it, or at least being in the vicinity of it, gives you a sense of control over your life. But to be poor in America is to be without that control and at the mercy of those who do. There are multiple scenes where Annie is not only in the right, but has every right to stand up for herself in an unfair situation, only for reality to smack her in the face and remind her that she had no real control and that the rich will simply drown out whatever argument she may have. Madison is the undisputed MVP of the film. She has to strike a unique balance between being jaded by her surroundings and her line of work, but still young and naive enough to believe that she may have truly found a way out. Audiences will likely figure out how the story ends long before Annie does, but she manages to be just sympathetic enough to where you're hoping she still walks away with some kind of happy resolution. If I have any complaints, they're merely the unintended consequences of certain creative decisions. Several scenes are deliberately stretched out to illustrate the comical farce Annie finds herself in with Vanya's handlers. And while they never stop being funny, one or two could have been shaved down a little bit. Also, while Vanya's departure in the film's second half is a deliberate narrative choice, the film does lose a little bit of its chaotic energy with him off screen. I'll also freely admit I was slow on the uptake with what the movie is doing with Yura Borisov's character, though I imagine that'll be rectified on a rewatch. Overall, Anora is one of the best films of 2024. Funny, heartbreaking, tense, surreal, and sexy all at once. Find a way to see it and get ready to hear its name quite a bit come awards season. Thanks for watching.